This podcast is brought to you by the one and only Dr. King Faisal Rehman, the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you for all your contributions and commitment to all combat sports in Ontario. Your generosity will never be forgotten, and we will forever be in your debt. Okay, welcome to Studio 88. I'm here, if you don't know already, with Chris, the Menace Clements. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
I appreciate you coming in and doing this.
Hey, anytime.
It's now, long story short, let's kind of. I just want to dive right into it because I don't even want to wait because I'm excited. I'm honored that you're here, to be honest. But where did it start with you? I mean, you all the way. Take us from the start right to the UFC, and then after. I want to kind of like. So let's follow this timeline.
Like even as a kid.
Even as a kid, I want to know, were you a rough and tumble kid?
Yeah, Saturday night
Were you
Kung Fu
nerdy?
Theater.
Kung Fu Theater.
I think it was called Kung Fu Theater on Saturday nights, really late at night. I used to stay up with my brother and watch it. I remember the host was some Asian guy with a long white mustache. Like,
Yeah. I know the one. I know the one. Yeah.
He'd be a host and they'd show some old Kung Fu movies.
Yeah.
So we'd stay up every Saturday night to watch it. Obviously, Bruce Lee was like a big inspiration. So I always wanted to do martial arts. Like I always wanted to do it. But I grew up in a pretty like humble, poor.
Where did you grow up?
Dresden.
Oh,
Very
it's like
small.
small town boy.
Very
Yeah.
small town. There was, my parents couldn't afford to drive me to Chatham and pay crazy money. And Dresden was so small, never had anything. So I never ever got to train. But I was always scrappy. Like my brother used to beat the crap out of me. He was 6 years older than me. So I got good at taking pain at a young age. So I just always wanted to do it. And then in high school, Taekwondo school opened up in Dresden.
See, I did Taekwondo as a kid, mainly because of like this movie. Not gonna lie,
Yeah.
like those '80s Van Damme movies where it was a lot of kicking, 60-40. So I did Jung Park Taekwondo, and I actually the first time I ever saw you fight, I knew just by how you moved and the way you fought, you came from a Taekwondo background because you're very flashy with the kicks, the spinning, the stuff like. Tell me more.
That's what it is.
Cool.
It's
I
like
like this.
So I got into Taekwondo and I was never. I don't think I ever won a trophy, not even a third place for doing my patterns or kata, whatever you want to call it for karate guys. But I could spar, like I could just fight. It was just something I could naturally do, and I enjoyed doing it. So I just wanted to spar and go to tournaments. I won a lot of trophies, and
How old were you then?
I was probably around 16 when I first started doing Taekwondo. And then first guy I ever punched in the face other than Taekwondo was one of my good friends who I took Taekwondo with over a girl.
Wow. Was it your fault or
It
his?
was well, he was trying to pick up my girlfriend. That's how she was trying. I think she made a little bit of it up. There was a group of us, and we were like very small school. So we were called the posse, is what everybody called us, because there was like 6 guys, and we were the basketball team. We were the track team. We were the soccer team.
You guys were the
We were
everything.
like the 6 guys that were every single team was basically me and
So you're very athletic.
yes, we were always together. And this girl was making up some stuff about my buddy, and he was that kind of guy that if the ball went on the girls' soccer field, he took his shirt off, flexed his stomach,
Yeah.
and walked over there to get the ball, without taking a breath. So he's kind of getting on our nerves a little bit anyway. I'm still friends with him to this day, though. So, but he did something made me angry. I remember telling the guys, "I'm gonna punch him in the head." And they're like, "You won't do it. You won't do it." So your buddies are egging you on.
Egg you on.
It was they're all buddies, right? He's their friend too. They're egging him on. You won't do it. You won't do it. And then I see him and you're not gonna do it. And I see him, so I said something to him. And he looked at me, and I just give him one shot.
You cracked him.
And I broke his jaw and knocked him out
Wow.
cold. First person I ever punched, right? Ended up going to jail for 10 days for assault causing bodily harm because I did it on school property,
Wow.
which came back to haunt me when I got signed to the UFC because my first fight was in Atlanta and I had a criminal record. So that was a whole other story on itself.
How'd you get around that?
I had to get
Was that hard
a
to get
waiver, but it wasn't done in time. But luckily, there was a UFC fan at the Sarnia border, and he got me I think it was called like some kind of border pardon or something, or border parole. And it was only good for a certain time. So
Oh, wow. That's cool.
he made it so I could be in the States from this period to this period, but I could only cross at that border crossing.
So you had to come back.
So,
and go
yes.
through
And then
the
like
same
3 months
route.
later, I finally got my waiver, which was only good for a year. But
Wow.
he really saved my ass, that guy.
Wow. So it's important for people to not to get criminal records when they're
Yeah.
pursuing MMA careers, just so
Yeah.
everybody knows.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it can come back to haunt you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I ended up punching that guy in the head, and I got kicked out of Taekwondo. And so then I went and did private lessons with a guy in Chatham named Mike Rand. He was a giant dude, but he was just like a phenomenal person. He got in a lot of trouble growing up, and then he would train us in the park, kickboxing and Taekwondo for Bible lessons after.
Really?
So, yeah, I had to go to his house,
Wow.
and he would make soups. He'd make like chicken gumbo and all this stuff.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know Chatham very well, there's a little hood there called the East End.
Yeah.
It's mainly a black community, so we'd go over there and train in the park and then go back to his house and do some Bible lessons and
eat gumbo.
eat some chicken gumbo at his house. So he ended up awarding me my black belt through him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went off to college and, like every other kid in college, I was more interested in girls and drinking than anything else. So did that for a few years. And then I seen John Fraser in the newspaper.
We just talked about John.
Yeah.
That's so
I seen
funny.
John Fraser in the newspaper one day, and my roommate at the time was like, John Fraser had won some MMA thing. And me and my buddy had just watched, I think it was like the Militich documentary that came out years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We just finished watching this Militich thing. Then I seen John Fraser, and my buddy was like, man, you should do that. Because I got in a bunch of fights during like my college days and stuff. And I pretty much was probably in 100 fights, but I probably only threw maybe 102 punches. I just knocked out everybody I ever punched, even in street fights. So I just jumped in John Fraser's class one day, and next thing I know, I was an instructor at his gym probably a month later teaching the striking. So then it went on
That's
from there.
how it all began.
Funny story was that me and my roommate, first day ever Jiu-Jitsu, what do you learn? Guard, armbar, triangle choke. Basically, was the very first thing. So I remember the next morning, I'm in my boxers eating a bowl of cereal. My roommate came downstairs, and we're sitting there on the couch. Both of us are in our boxers, and he asked me, what was that move we did last night, the triangle thingy? So we're trying to figure out how we did it. I'm on the carpet in my living room, front door open, in our underwear, and I put this guy in a triangle choke. I look up, and the mailman is looking through the window, and these two guys in their underwear, basically, with his legs wrapped the other guy's head.
And that mailman was Woodrow James.
And that was before anybody knew about MMA, right? So I just imagine if it was going through this guy's head.
Yeah. Seeing you in your underwear is putting triangle
It
chokes.
was my arm wrapped around a guy's head between
That's
my legs.
hilarious.
Special delivery.
And how old were you then?
I was about 26, so I got pretty late started.
Oh, wow. No
Yeah.
shit, eh?
Yeah, I think I was 26 then, and then maybe 27 actually, because I met Tompkins and moved to London after that. So I trained with Fraser and them, and I had my first fight lined up, and then I broke my ankle grappling with Fraser, which sidetracked me for about another 6 months to a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I had my next fight lined up, I went to a Chuck Liddell seminar in London. So that was a hell of a long time ago.
Wow.
And I met Tompkins there, and I was teamed up with Hordesky, who was my partner for that, actually. He was a little kid at the time, like 14 or 15, I think. Yeah, I think he was 15 because I'm 11 years older than he is, and I was 26. So, yeah. So I teamed up with Hordesky, and I asked Sean, I said, hey, I got a fight coming up in a couple weeks. I think I get a private lesson. So he said, yeah, come on down. I'll give you So I showed up. He threw a pair of gloves at me, fought me for a bunch of rounds, and took my money and told me I'd be doing good. that was about it. He didn't show me anything. We just sparred the whole time. He was, yep, you can do all right. And I gave him my money and I left. I drove down to Cleveland, Ohio on September 11th. I remember it because it was September 11th. And I kept getting death threats from all the guys in the crowd because it was like, this is a long time ago. This was right after 9/11, like the actual event, like a year after. So I went down there. I beat a guy in the first round. It's an armbar with just me and a buddy. Never been to an event before. And then I got a job at Sterling Trucks in St. Thomas. So I moved to London and started training at Team Tompkins after that.
Because everybody I run into that when they find out what I do, when I do fight promotions, they always drop your name. You know Chris Clements? You know Chris Clements? Do you know Chris Clements? Everybody knows Chris Clements, but everybody, I get that question a lot. You have fastest knockout.
Yeah, if you actually, some guy beat my knockout for the world record.
I just heard,
but if you actually time it from the time I punched my guy to the time he kicked his guy, mine's actually faster. I blame it on the referee.
Yeah. So tell me,
the referee was backing up.
Tell
right?
people that don't know about it.
So that was my first fight at welterweight. I think it was my third.
Where was that?
Pro fight. It was like TKO in Quebec. I was
Back
right
in
in
the
Montreal. Yeah. I remember because that was my first fight at 170, and I remember trying to like check my weight out of the scale, and I couldn't even stand up. Like I took everything I had because I used to walk around 210, and all of a sudden I cut down to 170 for the first time, and I was exhausted. And I got in the ring, and TKO was always before I had a goal to go to the UFC, like every other fighter, as soon as they start training, they want to go to the UFC. But I went John Fraser's first fight. I think who did he fight? Theory Quinville, maybe?
Oh, his first fight, Sean Ragnitz.
In TKO?
TKO.
Yeah, so I remember going to the first TKO show I ever went to, and John Fraser's first fight, and I seen the lights and the screen and like the fighter, like the little pre-fight interview, and I was amazed because I'd never seen anything like this. Like the fight I fought in Cleveland, Ohio, we were basically like backstage warming up in a trailer. It was pretty bad. So when I seen this, I was like, oh man, I want to do this someday. So I want to be here. And so I started going to TKO events, and I started becoming big fans of some of the guys, and like Hominick and those guys were champions already. And then I finally got my shot. So I went down to 170, and I was ready to fight this guy, and they said go, and he ran at me. And I remember going, holy shit, he's running at me. And I was petrified. And then his face just popped up, just kind of like that soccer game or whatever it was with the moles and you hammer. Yeah. His face just popped, and I just swung and hit the ground. And I knew he was out, but it was just the adrenaline. I just couldn't stop hitting him. And then the referee pulled me off, and 3 seconds later, it was over. And I was actually mad at first before I found out it was a world record because I put so much effort into cutting weight that I only fought for 3 seconds. But it was actually my wife's birthday that day. When we first started dating. So I remember saying happy birthday.
Real date, wasn't it?
It's kind of our first real date. She came to watch me fight. I had a bunch of relatives that drove all the way to watch me fight.
Well, you had to end it quick.
Yeah.
Hey, you get it. Oh, don't worry, I'll be fast. I
remember Super Stud Sam Stout making fun of me for months because I wished her happy birthday on the mic. He's like, what are you doing?
Happy birthday to my wife. That's hilarious.
She was only my girlfriend at the time. We just met.
Oh, yeah.
First date, her birthday, world record knockout. Wow. That's a story.
Talk about impression, eh? Hey.
Mm-hmm.
So
I go back to my first fight, actually. So my first fight's in Cleveland, Ohio. That's a kind of embarrassing story for me. But so I'm in Cleveland. I don't know anything. I don't know what's going on. And my guy who came with me, just a buddy of mine, he never been to a fight. He's never even fought. He doesn't know anything either. So we're in Cleveland, and we're at this hotel, and I don't know what's going on. So for weigh-ins, we're just basically you showed up the day of the fight that morning. They weighed you in. You weighed in. They said, okay, you're 205. Well, that guy's 210. You guys are fighting. There was no records or nothing. It was you weighed in this much, the guy weighed in that much. You guys are fighting. They just threw us at each other, right? That's so I had no clue who I was fighting until I got there. So now I'm at my hotel, and I don't know what's going on. I don't know where I'm supposed to be or what I'm supposed to eat or anything. But at the time, Wes Sims had just got cut from the UFC.
Mm-hmm. The wrestler guy, right?
Yeah, the big, tall,
I remember him.
crazy guy. He's a crazy guy. So I went over and knocked. His hotel room was right across the hall from me. So I remember going over and knocking on his door. And I was like, hey, man, He answered the door first of all. He answered the door in a towel with hickeys all over him. I'm talking like 20 hickeys all over his neck, all the way down his chest. And he's in a towel, and he's like a 6'7" guy, right? And I'm like, hey, man, I'm just across the hall. This is my first. Do you know what's going on for tonight? And he's like, hey, little guy. He called me little guy. I was like, hey, okay. So he's like, hey, little guy, I'll come knock on your door when I'm finished up in here. And then I heard some girl say something, and then he shut the door, and I was like, okay. He's a pretty carefree guy. So he comes, knocks on my door, and he's like, it's good something to eat. So we go down to this restaurant, and I remember going, I don't know what I'm supposed to eat before a fight. I don't know anything about this stuff. So he ordered some chicken and pasta and stuff. So I was like, I'll have exactly what he's having. I'm just following this guy. He's in the UFC. I'm doing whatever he does, I'm doing it.
Yep.
Right? So I ate this giant plate of pasta and chicken, and now I'm like full. my stomach hurts. And we show up at the fights now, and he drove me to the fights, and he was driving a Durango. And it was actually a promoter's Durango. So he drives us to the fights. I show up with him, and I'm backstage, and I try and skip. I remember I take about 3 skips on my skipping rope, and I was exhausted. Like, just the nerves were hitting me. And this wasn't an outdoor event. It was an outdoor event, and all we had for change rooms was these old trailers, like motorhome trailers. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden I start skipping, and the nerves hit, and I got to take a shit all of a sudden. Like, my stomach's killing me. It's like I have diarrhea. I was like, I got to go to the washroom. And so,
bad chicken and pasta.
I don't know. It was between the chicken and pasta and my nerves, but I was like, oh. So I run into this little motorhome, and I'm in the bathroom. It's a motorhome bathroom. It's literally like 2 foot by 2 feet, right? Not a window in it or nothing. And I'm in there. I got diarrhea. And all of a sudden I hear, everybody in here. All right, girls, come on in.
Oh, no.
All the ring girls, it was their trailer. it was the ring girls' trailer to get ready. So they're trying to get in the bathroom. I'm in the bathroom.
Shitting yourself everywhere.
And these girls are like, hello, hello, is somebody in there? And I'm not saying a word, right? I got to go and fight in a few minutes here. And I got all these girls waiting outside this room with the trailer.
You're stinking it up.
And I was stinking it up. There's not even a window. So I took off my fight shorts and put them over my head and opened the door. And I ran straight out of the bathroom, straight out the front door. Boom, right back to the backstage.
But they recognized the fight shorts later.
They probably did.
They knew it was it. That's the guy that shit in our trailer. That guy shit. I recognized the shorts.
That was my first fight experience after that.
That was amateur or pro?
That was my only amateur fight, yeah.
That's hilarious. Because you had quite the journey. You have a lot of fights. Anything stand out? What's the most memorable fight for you? Apart from getting the big UFC call, and I mean, you paid your dues for that.
Jonathan Goulet was my most memorable fight, I think.
How come?
Actually, because, like I said, I was a huge TKO guy. Like, I loved watching the events, and I became a big fan of Jonathan Goulet. And then he went off to the UFC, so I never actually expected. I just stayed a fan. I never expected I was going to actually fight him. But there became a point where I was almost ready to retire. My first fight in the UFC, I was 36 years old. So I was ready to retire, and I had a decent run, but I was getting out of shape. And I remember I had Jesse Gross was fighting in Quebec City for ringside. And I showed up and I was pretty out of shape. I had long hair. I looked pretty rough. And Jonathan Goulet had just won. And I guess they called me right after that and offered me that fight. And I hadn't fought for a while. And I was kind of just like, well, this is my shot. They offered me a shot with Jonathan Goulet. And I think they offered it to me because they see me. They're like, oh, we want Jonathan, he just left the UFC. We want him to have the title on a Quebec show, which is ringside. So I figured they called me, figuring I was still enough of a name, but Jonathan would beat me because I was looking pretty rough. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll take that fight. And then that was a whole other thing for me. That made me just focus so much on cardio and getting in shape. So I was so out of shape that I spent the whole training camp getting in shape. So when I actually got in the ring and fought like an actual guy that I looked up to I think it was the only guy I actually fought at that point that I'd ever followed, right, and looked up to. So he was like the first big name guy. So when I got in there and ended up knocking him out,
It's amazing.
and got my first belt because I always wanted to have a belt.
Yeah.
So that was just a huge moment for me. So that was probably the one that stands out to me the most.
Yeah. What about the least?
The least standout would probably be
Like, look.
I had a couple fights down in Minnesota that don't really stand out. I don't even remember the guy's names I fought. Honestly, I know one guy was like a high level guy. Tompkins one time just threw me into a tournament down in some
Joey Giel.
Is that who Joey Giel? That's who it was. I fought. Yeah, we had this tournament of like a 185 tournament that I got tossed into. And I think I was 1-0
in that tournament.
Huge names were in that tournament. Now that I look back at it,
Debuted.
it was my debut basically, and I got thrown into the mix with these guys. I remember going to the backstage in the change room. Like the fights don't stand out to me. I don't even remember the fight really, but like I remember being backstage in the change room and being like, oh, "That's Rich Flanken." He's like right there training. And there was another guy. Matt Hughes is right there. And then there was a guy from Ohio.
Because Drew McFedries was on the card.
There's all these
Brock
huge
Larson.
names. Yeah, Brock Larson. I think he won it. There's another guy.
McFedries was in the UFC for a while. It was one of those guys, Milicic.
And there was another guy too, Dimitri. I can't think of his name now. He was in the Ultimate Fighter show, made the UFC for a while too. He was in the tournament. I think pretty much out of the 8-man tournament, I think 5 or 6 of them ended up being in the UFC like right after that. So they were all like huge names. But as far as the fight standout, I don't remember the fight at all. So that's probably my least. It was like my debut. I think it was my first one that counts on my record.
Wow, that's cool because it's cool to hear. All
the thing is, I got
stories.
stuck at the airport. We got landed at the airport. They left us at the airport for 13 hours. I missed the weigh-in and everything.
Really?
Me and Tom were like, I'm cutting weight. They just left me at the airport. They didn't know that they were picking up 2 people. So when we flew into Minnesota, this Indian reserve was like hours away. And they picked the one guys and they left. They didn't wait for me and Tompkins. So they left us at the airport for like 13 hours.
So how did that work with the commute? Like,
I just sat there. I had to weigh in when I got to the hotel that night. I was at a native reserve
Yeah,
in
there's
Minnesota.
stuff on this. Yeah,
no real commission, I don't think, at the time. So,
wow. So you've been in a lot of events.
yeah, I traveled around quite a bit. Montreal was mainly my home. A lot of my fights were at TKO when I first started, and then ringside after TKO.
Yeah.
When ringside took over. Now TKO's back now though. So
Where were you when you got the UFC call?
I think I was on the treadmill at the gym. Actually,
Yeah.
I had just Patrick just came back.
Mhm.
So I remember, what did he ring or something? Did he ring a fire or something? Ring something.
No, ringside. He brought TKO
Fire.
back. Or no, wasn't it Impact?
Was it
They were going
Impact?
to do just pure striking.
No, he had an MMA show after that. I forget what it was called. He had, after ringside left, TKO, Patrick started another organization.
You got to
There's
tell
another
the
guy
story about the
I got offered
striking.
a fight. I left. He was in the UFC for a while. Can't think. He was really tall. Can't think of his name either. That's who Patrick asked me to fight. And then I got to call the UFC right after that. After I beat Clemente, I was kind of on the radar.
Where did you fight Clementi?
Yeah, right after Clemente? Was that Score Fighting Series? Was that who it was?
Sarnia.
In Sarnia?
In
Yeah,
Sarnia.
Score Fight. I think it was Score. Yeah, it was a Score. That was a good fight too, actually.
You were.
I remember that. I was pretty pumped to fight him.
That was a great.
That was at the stage after I beat Goulet, I just was like, I'm like 34 now or whatever I was. And I was like, this is it. If I lose again, I'm done. I never would be able to go on another run like I did again at this age and start over again. So
Yeah, because
I
I
fought
remember
Clemente, it
you
was
were
like,
grinding
oh.
for a long time.
I wouldn't fight anybody unless they're in the UFC, basically.
Mhm.
After I got to a certain stage, I was like, if they weren't in the UFC, I don't want to fight them.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to help me. And I was a weird era where I was at. Because now there's like so many shows. And then before me, it was just like wasn't very many fighters.
Mhm.
So it was like the guys who were like TKO champions got basically right into the UFC pretty easily. So I was kind of just in this middle ground, right? Where it was kind of like, you have to be a name in order to get in, but you need to have like a good record too. So it was kind of, you couldn't just beat nobodies and get to the UFC at my time. Like today, there's just so many people. I don't think they can keep track of who's fighting who and who these guys are. And I was kind of at that right where it was kind of turning over stage from like not having enough fighters to, bringing in more and starting to fill cards up a little bit.
Yeah.
So back when I got in, like, every fighter on the card back then, right? Right before I started. Now today, I'm lucky if I know top 3 fights, if you know who they are, right? And the same as too, none of the guys you used to watch now are on the prelims, like the prelims, because all these other guys, you go, I know that guy, I used to watch that guy all the time.
The sport's definitely evolving.
Now there's like all these other people I've never heard of in between. So it's definitely changing. It was a rough road when I had to get in.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my sponsor, Rycor Countertops. They deal in custom countertops in quartz, Corian, Meganite, laminate, and butcher block. They also have custom kitchen cabinetry, closets, laundry rooms, and millwork. They're family owned and operated for 18 years, knowledgeable and highly experienced staff, and friendly customer service. Head on over to 1069 Clark Road. Check out their showroom today. Okay, let's get back to this whole the whole UFC, the call and the journey along the way. Take us a couple more fights. You've had so many fights. Like, walk us through some of these fights.
Yeah, I've been punching the head for a living for 15 years. So basically, I'm trying to remember back to all this stuff. I remember starting, like, going on my win streak again after, I think it was the Goulet call that really got me fired up.
Yeah.
And then I had some smaller shows. Like, I remember fighting on, like, native reserves again after that, just to stay busy, and who was that? Caleb Grummett? Was that my next?
Yeah, Caleb Grummett.
I don't even remember my record. I don't even know the order right now, actually. I think I fought Grummett after I fought Goulet.
I think it was before, but what about the Jason St. Louis?
Jason St. Louis? Yeah, that doesn't count on my record either. I think it was MMA. It was another show by Stephen Patry, the same guy that has TKO. It was called Strike Box, I think he called it. Strike Box. So it was MMA, gloves, MMA cage.
That's so cool, though.
Everything,
I wish we could do
takedowns, but you couldn't do any ground and pound once you're on the ground. And only standing submissions, I think. So that I think I only had one event. I think he might only had one event. I think Steve Bosse versus that giant English guy or whatever.
James Thompson.
James Thompson. That was the main event, yeah. So that was my first fight back, I think, after knee surgery. I think I was off for quite a while, so it didn't even count as an MMA fight. So I came back and fought him. And I remember hurting him with a leg kick to the knee, and I just finished knee surgery myself. And actually, I looked at him, and I was just like, yeah, he started limping after I kicked him in the leg, and I was like, I pointed at his leg. I'm like, I'm going to kick it again. I was kind of like, yeah, like this. And he looked at me, he's like, I know, but I can't really just quit. So then I think I faked a leg kick and kicked him in the face instead, actually, after I did that. And then he dropped to one knee, and the referee stopped it after that. But then I went back to MMA, I think on a reserve show after that. I don't remember my order. I almost need to keep my record.
Jake Short. Remember you fought him?
Jake Short. He had a big record too.
Oh, yeah, he fought a lot
of guys. I think he had actually beat a couple guys that were in the UFC at one point. And he was a wrestler out of Michigan. And I fought him on a reserve show. And the ring was a tarp, like an actual tarp that should be outside over somebody's lumber. And it was like, we were the main event, and it was covered in sweat. And I remember him shooting at me and sliding probably 5 feet, like a slip and slide across the ring. And I had Chris every punch I threw, I was trying not to fall down. So I'm fighting a wrestler trying to take me down. I could barely stand. And Hordesky's in my corner. And most people never had Chris Hordesky corner them before. But he yells out combinations like jab cross, step off cross, hook, switch kick, switch off cross, like this crazy 10 punch combinations he just hollers out. And I was like, I can't even throw a jab right now without falling down. So basically he just kept shooting at me. I just kept sprawling and ground and pounding him on the ground a little bit when he was in that turtle position. Ended up beating him I think I beat him by decision, didn't I? I think I by decision. So that doesn't count on my record. That's why I had all knockouts basically until the UFC.
Yeah, you were at 10 wins, 10 knockouts when you went to the UFC. Am I right?
Okay, well, I have to know about the Wonder Boy sweep. I gotta know about it because when I saw it, I shit myself. I was like, oh! I remember screaming because you don't see that. That's the shit we used to play
I think it's
with
ever been done before or again after.
I think he would never seen it, and he even took him by surprise.
That's a move that I've been doing. Like I said, I grew up watching kung fu movies as a kid and playing.
But what were you thinking in that fight? Like during that fight, you decided to sweep.
The thing is, the Wonder Boy fight too. Like a lot of guys that were like, I could have guys like Matt Mitrione and those guys were in my change room. They could vouch for me that my knee snapped right out of the socket backstage. Like I tore my.
I heard that.
I was warming up backstage, and my jiu-jitsu coach, when I was doing like a post to get up, I post my legs straight, and he stepped backwards and stepped right on my knee, and popped my knee out, pretty bad. And a lot of guys were telling me not to take the fight, but I had like 100 people there, and it was my first fight in UFC in my home province too.
Yeah,
so
I remember.
There was no way I wasn't going to take that fight. So that was what was in my head most of the time, was trying to protect my knee.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually a spot where I throw a head kick at him and I wipe out and land on my knee. And if you actually watch it, I paused because I landed right on my knee and I was like, oh God, that hurts. Like that.
Wow.
So, but when I did the sweep move, it's a move I've been doing like I said, I've been watching these Kung Fu movies as a kid, and I used to do it quite a bit. My first day of grade 9 high school, actually, me and another guy were talking to hallway, and I remember like an older kid, like a grade 12, came up to me, and he was pretty big. And he had said something to me, and I said something smart back. Not expecting anything, you know. And he came back at me and called me a smart ass little punk or something like that. And I remember he pushed me into the locker, and I did that move to him. He pushed me into the locker, hit the locker, and I just spin out of reaction, and I knocked his feet out. And a school floor is hard. And I remember he fell back and smoked his head off the floor, and he just laid there, and I just, and I took off running after that. And I never had an issue with the guy again or anybody for years to come after that.
Yeah,
it's just kind of like, So it was kind of like a move that I'd always done.
Mm-hmm.
And I do it a lot in training too. I like to have fun when I play around with guys.
Yeah, I see you do a lot of mitt work. Like I see you have a lot of clients and
yeah, I just like to have fun when I train and when I fight. The same thing. And that was kind of a turning point in my career too. Like back in the Sean Tompkins days when I was very unsure of myself and getting coached a style that wasn't really mine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was getting told and combos yelled at me from the side, and I was never one for listening to it because they're saying things to me that didn't feel right. It might look right to them and it might have worked just fine, but they're yelling out cross and stuff like that. And I don't know how many people know, but I have they call me T-Rex. I have midget arms. So coming straight at somebody just never ever worked for me. It was just very uncomfortable for me. I never felt like it was going to work. So I've always done unorthodox stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's actually one of the reasons that I felt really good about my fight with Goulet. It's because on the way to the cage, Leo Laux, a lot of people in town know Leo Laux. He's a former kickboxing champion. He was my striking trainer for a long time. And going to that right before the ramp, or at the very top of the ramp, and I was getting ready to walk out, and he just looked at me and he said, you know, just be yourself. Do you. And I was like, whoa, I'm allowed to do that? And it was a turning point in my career where I went in there and I started to kind of dance around and pull off some of my spin moves and have more fun after that, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why that fight stands up in my mind.
It was you're only you.
Yeah, and it made me just be myself and have more fun and relax a little bit. So even if you watch my fight with Rich Clemente, like again after that, we had leg locks on each other, and you'll see me talking to him, laughing with him. I make jokes with the guys, right? My first UFC fight, I went and laid down with my hands behind my head, and I told Keith Wisniewski, and to go in the second round, if you actually watch it, in between rounds, you'll see him going, like, he doesn't know what I'm saying. I'm like, I like you, man. You're a good guy. I always just teased around with guys, and I would get up against the cage, and I'd be like, you should be listening to your corner. And I remember my fight in Windsor against Travis Briere. He had Rory McDonald in his corner, and I know Rory. And I had him up against the cage, right, and I could hear Rory barking instructions at him. I'm going, man, you're really not listening to your corner. Rory, you should really tell something to this guy like that. And Rory goes, hey, like that. I was like, how you doing, Rory? He's like, pretty good. Yeah, he's supposed to be cornering the guy I'm fighting.
He threw him off,
and I threw him right off. I started talking with him, right? So it just made me have fun. Yeah. So then in training again, I used to do like crazy moves. And a lot of guys told me I was stupid for trying. I told him I'm going to do that move, the Wonder Boy. I'm like, oh, you'd be stupid. I was like, you watch, I'll do it. And I knew that when he switches stance, so if you actually watch Wonder Boy, when he switches southpaw, he uses his lead leg because that's his right leg. But when he switches the other stance, he uses his hands a lot more. So when he's orthodox, he punches more, but when he's south, he kicks. So I kind of feinted at him, and I seen him lift his leg. So I knew he was going to either throw like a side kick or a hook kick or something. So I was just like, okay, here's my chance. I'm going for it, right? So I did the feint, and he lifted his leg. I said, all right, here we go. So I
like to see Robin Black
right at him again. Robin Black actually did a breakdown.
Did he do a breakdown?
He actually,
oh yeah, that's right, he did.
Perfect. He does an actual perfect. I was like, I could have swore I talked to him before he did it because Robin Black actually goes right through. He pinpointed. I was really impressed with Robin Black after I seen that because I was like, that's pretty much exactly what had happened.
Yeah,
like what was going through my head and everything. He does the point where I fake and he lifts his leg and everything. So, that's right. That kick got me more, in recognition than anything I ever done. But even more than my knockout. I had the world record of the fastest knockout, but that kick got me like it's on the UFC 20-year anniversary show. They're like it's there forever, so it's a piece of history that I'll always
That's a
be a part
highlight.
of.
That's a cool. Well, that's a cool
Yeah.
highlight. No, because nobody does that.
Yeah,
You don't see that unconventional shit. That's why when, like, say Anderson Silva did the front snap kick,
yeah.
and then he KOs guys, and people were astounded about it. But it's just a regular front snap kick. I mean, nobody.
Yeah.
Do you do that in karate? And
I always tell my students too, like, I get made fun of a lot at the gym because a lot of guys like they're straight and narrow kickboxers or they don't have the same background as I do. They haven't seen those other things or done the same things I do. So they make fun of kind of the unorthodox things I do, but anything can work if you know when and why to throw it, right? It's all about timing and setups, right? There's no wrong way to hit somebody basically unless you're breaking your own limbs doing it. But I can do that. The funniest move ever. Like you see stuff happening all the time now, people pulling off weird moves. It's all about understanding
timing and when it can happen.
Yeah. I remember I wrote Damian Maia a letter one time. He never replied back to me, just in case you're listening. Damian Maia came out and he was trying to strike. And his techniques is not that bad, but he's just throwing to the wind. Right. And I remember saying, I said, you got down the how, but every fighter knows how. It's the guy who knows why and when to throw each punch and kick. It's gonna, that's the guy with the advantage, not the guy who knows how to throw a better punch, because everybody can throw a punch, right? So I think that's the difference of like today's guys compared to the guys of 10 years ago. Is they're more outside the box now. They're doing weirder things. Like people don't fight with their hands up in a straight. Like there's not too many guys doing that. All like the really successful guys, John Jones and these guys, and Conor McGregor, they're not doing traditional stand in front of you, jab, cross, hook.
They're
stuff,
elusive.
right?
They're very
Movement's key too, right?
Yeah.
That's where Taekwondo came in for me as well, and the spin moves because I'm good at moving.
Yeah. Well, it's a 60-40 sport, right?
Yeah.
60% kicking, 40% punching.
And bouncing around,
and
you're on
it's
your
a lot
toes.
of on your toes, your movement, your angles.
Yeah,
and
and
then
speed, right? You got to get in and out fast.
Yeah. You gotta
That's how
strike.
Wonder Boy actually caught me because he did that karate lunge and cross.
Yeah.
Which
That
is
point,
very
point fighting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
and get the point and out.
The range of it was, I seen it coming, but I leaned back. And
How'd you prepare for that fight?
I had a couple karate guys come in. Leo actually brought in for me to train with me.
Great guy to have.
I did a lot of ground stuff with Jeff Jocelyn, which I think a lot of people around here don't take advantage of how good Jeff Jocelyn is. And
He's such a veteran.
He's a guy that's not talked about enough, I don't think, in Ontario. And he's a huge asset to the Ontario guys. I think they should take advantage of him. I could train in my gym, like jiu-jitsu guys, and I'll maybe get tapped out once a year. And that guy was like, he would tap me out sometimes 5 times in a round. And it was good for me to get down there.
He's got a few killers on the way up.
He's got,
His
Admiral
team,
Falastini. Shout out to Admiral.
even Alex Glusman.
He moves
Alex
well,
Glusman,
too.
yeah,
Admiral moves well.
Yeah, he does. They again, elusive. I think you have to reinvent yourself. The sport is evolving so fast that the younger guys are different now because they're learning the mistakes from the older guys.
Yeah, but they're
the
not
OGs.
starting off as Taekwondo guys or wrestlers as
No,
much.
they're starting out as
starting off
MMA.
as MMA guys. Right?
Yeah,
It's
which
a whole
is
different thing.
Which sucks because I hate to see the origin of martial arts being kind of eliminated from it all. But really, the martial arts in general is everything together. Like I remember skipping school in grade 9, going to Warriors on Yonge Street and buying the Tao Jeet Kune Do. And I was a fanatic about martial arts. I loved the martial arts, and I like the origins. I like the uniform styles. I like the grading process. All that stuff. I don't like that it's being kind of eliminated from it. But MMA is now sport.
Yeah, I mean, as a father now, I took my kids. Since my kids are babies, they're coming to the adrenaline and training, right? Not training, but seeing me train people and playing in the gym. So for me to take them there to train now, it won't happen. Like they just can't. They won't focus because to them it's been their little play area since they were kids. So it's hard for them to have discipline. So instead, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna start them in Taekwondo. And the whole time I'm just
Smart.
I'm knocking myself.
That's smart. It's good.
I'm watching. Like the discipline was great, but I'm sitting there watching them put their hands down, and I was like, oh. And I'm seeing them throw kicks and stuff, and then like, so like a famous Taekwondo move is a counter move is a slide back kick. But the whole reason why that kick works is because it's set on a flawed kick to begin with, right? When a Muay Thai guy kicks or an MMA fighter kicks, if we miss, we spin in a whole circle and come back to our fighting stance. When like a karate guy or Taekwondo guy usually kick the kick and they drop forward, right? So they're switching stance to another stance. So slide back, come back roundhouse works because the guy threw a bad kick in the first place, right? So he's kicking and dropping, right? So I'm watching these things, and as an actual fighter, I'm sitting there going, "That's so useless." I'm teaching my kids bad habits. Like,
yeah, but don't you
but they
think
were listening so well, and the discipline and stuff like that. So it's you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't type thing. Because MMA doesn't have that curriculum that's because everyone does it different. Everything's different.
Mhm.
Whereas Taekwondo is going to be the same no matter where you go, basically, unless it's ITF or WTF. So
Mhm.
that part is great for kids, that discipline and structure that you can't get at an MMA,
Mhm.
I don't think.
The belting system,
Yeah,
the rewarding, being
yeah.
in a uniform amongst other kids, having to do the exact
Even
same
if you go to
things as
Adrenaline, if you do a lesson with me and you go do a lesson with Sam Hominick or Sam Stout, Mark Hominick, you're going to get taught something different from every single person because we're all our own people doing different
Yeah,
things.
so
We're not
I
on a
love watching your
curriculum.
combinations when like you work a lot with Dr. Faisal.
Yeah.
And I like to bring that up too because I want to kind of know how you met Faisal and I know, but everybody else don't know. But it'd be kind of cool to hear.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
Faisal likes when people talk about him.
Faisal's a great, and Faisal, a lot of us owe a lot to him. He's done a lot for myself and the people around it, the fight community. He fights himself. He understands.
Yeah.
And we have September 28th, the charity event coming up, and it's basically his show. He's the man that's putting it on, and it's all for charity. And how can you not love a guy like that? How did you meet Faisal?
Actually, I think it was Jesse Ronson first who gave me his contact. I needed a medical done, and I remember messaging him and introducing myself to him and being like, I think I needed an MRI or something done to fight for TKO. And he's like, yeah, I can do it. Just give me a couple lessons to call it even type thing.
That's cool.
So then he came and started training with me, and we hit it off right away.
Yeah.
And that was, I can't even think how long ago that would have been. Probably around 9 years now.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Was he fat when you met him?
He was probably about 190.
Yeah, because he explained his journey. Like I had him on, and
he'd been training a lot with Brad Fowler and some other guys before he came to train with me.
Gotcha.
So he's already doing some kickboxing and boxing. He's already had some boxing fights. And then I think I was his first introduction to kickboxing. He started meeting everybody was like, oh, hey, he has a doctor. So I started introducing him to other people. And then I always felt bad to other fighters. It was like, hey, it's like, I don't like throwing guys at Faisal and be like, hey, can you do this guy too? So I always felt bad, but he took everyone on, and one after one after one, all the way up to probably 100 of us now. He's probably took care of. So
Leo Lokes actually said to me one time, we were at a convention for and a different the charity. Every opposite year they do a combat sport, a concert, combat sport. I've sat on the committee ever since 2014, so I rolled along with the charity group, and so I seen Leo Lokes that it was a Jan Arden concert.
Okay.
So we did Jan Arden for the knockout kidney disease, and we were talking about Faisal, and he said there isn't a fighter in the province that doesn't owe Faisal something.
Yeah,
he's always been there to kind of help out somebody, and if you look at all the veterans, like his name's on all your shorts. He's always kind of been there. So we kind of everybody.
I made his logo actually. That
Did
logo
you really?
You have of the King of Faisal. Yeah, I made that.
That's hilarious. Yeah,
Just kind of a way to say thank
man.
you. Yeah, he's a great guy. He's probably not even say. I can honestly say that he's the best human being I've ever met in my life. All around, I think I've never seen anybody do as much for people as that guy. I don't know how he has time.
I don't know how he does
I have
it either.
no idea how he has time. Yeah, I don't know how his wife puts up with it either. He's got to be gone a lot.
It's the last kickboxing show that he fought on. He had we changed his name on the program because he didn't want to tell his wife.
Oh yeah, I remember.
So he goes. I can't remember the name he gave me, but it was another name. And he goes, put this name, and I'm like, who's that? He goes, that's me. He goes, but my wife can't. My wife is going to see all the documents on everything. He goes, so where I'm hiding. I go, Faisal, am I going to get slapped at the venue because here you are fighting and she doesn't know last minute? Like, yeah, you got to tell her. He says, no, my son.
When he fought, did you ever? I don't know if you were around him then when he had this at the convention center downtown.
The boxing,
right on York Street, the Young Street one.
Yeah,
on York Street.
This one with his entrance.
Oh, at the entrance, it was like 20 minutes long. Yeah. But so that fight, I went with him to meet his opponent. And his opponent was like 350 pounds or something. The guy was gigantic.
He always wanted scary guys.
And I was like, dude, what are you doing? That guy's going to kill you. And he goes, probably, but it'll sell more tickets for my charity. Like, that's the kind of guy he is. He fought a 300-pound monster.
Yeah.
So he can make more money for his kidney charity.
Yeah. He told me the best fight he ever had was at Cowboys. And he goes, it was the best fight. I go, why was it the best fight for you? He goes, because my son. He goes, they were looking at me in the crowd going, you're dead. He goes, I felt like I was in a real fight. I felt like I was showing up to be
Yeah.
Like,
I remember the
absolutely.
guys doing that and threatening, like doing that at him, and I was like, you guys have no fucking
They
idea
have zero clue.
the great
They
man
have
that you
zero
guys, the
clue.
great
Yeah.
man that you are insulting right now.
Yeah, they have that. They
Like,
have
I was
zero
so
idea.
angry watching that. I
That
just wanted
shit
to go
pisses
there
me
and
off,
just
too.
start smashing people.
I know.
I was
I know.
furious that they were doing that to him.
But I think, I mean, now, like I
Because
know
people don't even know too. Like he was paid for his opponent's training.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
Paid for their medicals too.
Yeah, and the
yeah, his-
medicals.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and
That's
and
how
you're
solid of a
threatening-
guy
people in the
is.
crowd are threatening this guy. Like,
They know now.
Hmm.
They know now.
Yeah.
I mean, because he's had a bit of a history, and I think he's won that crowd over too.
Is that his MMA
demographic.
fight?
Yeah, the first time you refed it,
yeah, you refed it.
you jerk.
Yeah, Brad and merch
Fucking
on.
terrible. But yeah, like he.
Right? That's his name? What's his name? Brad Marsh. No, I'm thinking the hockey player. Brandon
Marchand.
Oh,
Brandon
Marchand.
Marchand. I'm
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
Brad Marchand.
Yeah, and it was his crowd. It's a tough crowd, and they gave him a lot of slack.
Mhm.
But remember, they didn't know who Faisal was at the time
Yeah.
either, right?
I was
I'm
just
not-
so
I'm not
I
making
was like so
excuses for
insulted that they were like doing that to him. I
Yeah,
was
because
furious.
we look at it going,
Yeah.
you have any idea? He's our
Yeah.
king. We call him king for a reason. He's our
Yeah.
king, right? So after that fight and the second time they met, sucked. Like it really sucked. For all my like, I remember crying about it, like backstage.
I was frozen in the
choked.
corner. when
Yeah,
he
I was
lost.
I was choked, and
It was his fight to lose the whole time. I knew it was like going into it.
I saw
He had
him.
the skills. It's just people have to understand this is a 46-year-old doctor.
Listen, I saw him the week before the fight, and he was like, he hadn't even had a fade yet, and he always has a nice clean haircut.
He was
for the fights.
nervous and
But
he
he
had
had
a lot
been
going
working.
on. And
He'd been working.
Yeah.
He just transferred a kidney patient from a woman who
Yeah.
overdosed into another person. So I met him at Tim Hortons at coffee, and I was like, in my head, I'm like, fine. Like, King, you look like shit. But I didn't say that. I just said, is everything okay? Are you all right? And he's like, oh, I'm just tired. He's been in surgery doing this. Like I couldn't even believe it. And then it made me feel like such a dick because here I am. He's going to war, but he begged me for the fight, and we all talked amongst it behind the scenes. We couldn't tell him no.
Yeah.
We tried to tell him no, but we couldn't tell him no. Like,
I was thinking, I don't know. I don't want to bring it up on online,
Yeah.
but it's because I seen him get a shot that he shouldn't have took in the training too. Prior to that fight, quite a ways before that fight though. But
Was that Havorka?
yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was okay. So he pulled actually from the fight was supposed to happen before that, and then
After that though, I never ever wanted him to spar or fight again.
Yeah,
like
because
that. I was
he
just like,
messaged me that day.
your brain's like you're not like a lot of us are fighting to make a living, but
You don't have
you're
to.
just fighting for
because you're crazy.
Yeah,
He's crazy.
You like it.
Yeah, because he's
Like,
crazy.
Your
He
brain
wants
is
to
very
fight.
important to you compared to ours. Like,
Yeah.
other people's lives depend on your brain as well. So
Mhm. But after that fight, I remember going outside, and I was pretty choked about it because Faisal was a friend of mine. So to see that is hard to see, and it was a hard pill to swallow. Obviously, you want to see him win. He's one of those deserving guys. And,
yeah, he deserves it.
to see him finish that way upset me quite a
And
bit.
works hard. Guy worked. He worked hard. I'll give him that. He's a hard-working man.
But the crowd, the people that were outside when I went for that fresh air to talk to them, every single one of them was the crowd that was the type that go like this, were praising him so much that they were so sympathetic to the fact that he had lost the fight, but the fact that they knew now who he was. So it was a good milestone. Like at the end of the day, the guys that were doing this just had no idea.
Yeah.
Now they know, and you'll never see that when it comes to him again because he's paid his dues, he's earned his respect. But cheers to Faisal, 100%. This podcast is brought to you by Eurosun Tanning Salon. You suffer from eczema or psoriasis? You have acne or sore muscles? Head on in today and visit the tanning beds. They got regular and mega stand-up beds. Get that beautifully tan look that you're looking for. They also offer natural Mystic Spray Tan. You can also purchase premium products such as Australian Gold, California Tan, Designer Skin, and Swedish Beauty. There's many different packages to choose from, 6-session package or a 30-day pass, even single sessions. Sign up today in your membership and get $70 worth of product. They're located across from Masonville Mall in the Wendy's Plaza at 60 North Centre Road, London, Ontario. Visit Eurosun Tanning today. Back to Faisal and back to the charity event. He's done so much for us. I'm guessing you're going to be there in the fights, September 28th.
Yeah, I'm working on it right now. I just got to get a babysitter right now. As far as I know, Jesse Gross called me at a very bad time and asked me to corner him.
Yeah.
I was going through some personal issue at the time, so I'm planning on cornering him. I just haven't got back on the phone with him to tell him yeah. And So I'm planning on being there in his corner. Pretty excited to watch him
Yeah,
fight again.
cool.
I haven't seen the kid, and he was like my mini-me for years.
Yeah, I just heard the other day he was beating the shit out of everybody in training. And I'm like, yeah, that's Jesse.
Yeah,
He's
that's
a
Jesse.
fucking
Yeah,
savage.
he was never one to show up to class and sit down for a lesson, but he's always one to jump in there and scrap. Kind of reminded me of myself. So,
Is there anyone that you took to?
Jesse was like my mini-me. He was like my little brother for years.
Yeah.
We were really close for a very long time. And once I had kids and stuff like that, the age difference, that's when I started acting more my age.
Yeah.
That's one thing that got in the way of my career, actually, was
Family and kids.
the kids. Like, I looked at it like this. You have the UFC to go, and you have a very short period of your life that this is going to be available to you. But I had 2 young kids at home, and you have kids. They change really quick.
Mm-hmm. They grow so fast.
So I also had another thing happening in my life that was only going to be available for a very short time.
Mm.
So I could either, train my ass off to make the most of my UFC, or I could see my kids, from babies grow, right? I didn't want to miss out on anything. So I chose my kids over traveling around and taking off for long training camps. So I trained myself with, a small camp, like Andrew Elliott, Leo Laux, and Rowan Cunningham helped me out.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I just stayed at home. I did almost all my camps at home, except for I would drive to Hamilton and train with Lynn.
Crewlin. Yeah,
Crewlin.
he's striking so good,
Yeah,
too.
he was a great, a great asset for me. I really enjoyed my training with him. Really pushed me, and Jeff Jocelyn as well.
See, these are things I didn't even know. I want to know about Rock and Robin.
Rock and Robin.
Tell the story.
My first, I don't think I even showed up my record. First time I was ever on a plane, even in my life, I flew to Winnipeg for a fight. Tompkins had me in Cage Wars, which was owned by Krzysztof Szynski at the time, the old former UFC guy as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was Krzysztof's show out in Winnipeg, and I fought on that card. And I was petrified. I didn't like that coming to the ring to that heavy metal and stuff like that because it's stressful music, right? But as a kid, I used to dance with my little sister. My little sister's like way younger than me, like 11 years younger than me. So when she was like a baby, I was probably like 13, 14. I'd put on like this old 70s music, and Rock and Robin was a song that I always liked. So me and my sister used to bounce around the couch, and I'd put her on the couch, and I'd stand up, and I'd dance around with my sister. And it was always a song that always stuck with me and made me really happy. So my very first fight with Tompkins and these guys, I flew to Winnipeg, and I'm walking out, and Rock and Robin came on, and I just lit up.
That's
The nerves were
amazing.
gone. I got in the ring, and I remember looking at the ring girls, winking at the ring girls, and dancing around in the ring, having a party. And I remember going to the corner, and Tompkins looked at me and goes, "If I knew you were coming out to that song, you'd have walked out by yourself." He goes, "Don't you ever do that to me again." But that was a song that stuck with me. So I never used it again throughout my career until I got to the UFC, and it was the exact same thing, right? I worked my ass off to get to the UFC. The day it happened, I was running on the treadmill. I got the phone call, and I remember just looking over at Mark Hominick. I'm like, "I'm going to the UFC." And then I went home with my wife, and before I could even tell my wife, I started crying because I was just so excited I got there, right? But now that I'm there, I don't want to be with these. I hear about the first fight jitters and all this stuff, so I went back to Rock and Robin. And if you watch, it doesn't show it. I don't even think it shows it on the DVD, but when I come to the ring, if you see Joe Rogan, he's like, "Look at this guy coming out here happy and dancing like that," because I was just dancing to Rock and Robin, and I just had a big smile on my face, and I wasn't
Put you in a comfort spot.
nervous. Yeah, so I didn't go into the fight nervous. I was excited. Right?
Man, see, I got a call from my buddy. He was in Atlanta, and he called me, and he said, or he texted me during when Keith Wisniewski, was that his name?
Yeah.
He's walking out, and he's like, "Why is Mency laying down in the middle of the ring?" So I asked you about it, and you were just smiling, enjoying the vibes.
I got to the cage, and I remember I got in the cage, and I just wanted to enjoy the moment. So I got in, I did my run around the cage, and I walked to I think it was a Budweiser symbol or a Bud Light symbol in the middle of the cage, and I just laid down on the ground, crossed my feet, and put my hands behind my head, and looked up the crowd, and was like, "You did it. You made it. You're here. Enjoy it." Right? And I just soaked up the moment.
You should be proud
And
of
I
yourself.
laid there until the referee said, "Are you ready to get up?"
Yeah, true definition of grinding until you get something that you wanted. Because I kind of followed you your whole career too, and I was how come that guy's not in the UFC yet? How come that guy's not in the UFC yet? But it goes to show that if you work hard at something and you really want it, it'll happen.
Yeah,
and you deserved it.
I had a rocky road because I was like, I think
lot
when
of
I first
injuries.
started, I had a lot of injuries too. Like I said, I didn't start. I think I turned pro when I was 30 years old or something like that, 29, 30 years old. So I got the UFC at 36. So I was always getting injured. Even during the UFC, I had a lot of injuries. I fought. I had surgery right after I fought. Who was my second fight? Matt Riddle. Before that fight, I right after my first fight, I tore my two rotator cuffs, tore my labrum, and tore my bicep tendon completely off my right side. And then I got a phone call to fight in UFC on a pay-per-view.
You don't say
You can't say no to a pay-per-view. And that was a Calgary card that everybody dropped out of. And I remember at home going, the hell's wrong with these? What injury is possibly taking these people out of it when I have all this wrong with me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not pulling out for nothing. But again, it was my first shot and only shot to be on a pay-per-view, right? So I was just like, I don't care. My arm fell off. I'm fighting. And then during the fight, it didn't really hurt me too much until he caught me in the arm triangle at the end. It was actually my bad shoulder.
Yeah.
I wasn't choking. I was tapped out because of the pain in my shoulder. I was going to rip right off. I just couldn't train for the fight. And I had a herniated disc in my neck as well. So I spent basically every morning at the chiropractor in some machine stretching my neck out for 2 hours. And then I couldn't spar. I remember I tried to spar one guy one round and I got hit with a jab and my whole side went limp, like numb, like electrocuted me.
Wow.
Because from the disc in my neck.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even spar going into that fight. All I did basically was jog.
What fight was it that was it Josh the Punk Thompson? He tweeted about you. Didn't he, that you were hurt in the dressing room?
That was my Wonder Boy fight because Thompson was backstage with me. And he was in my change room. My knee snapped. Like it echoed through the change room. And I remember Matt Mitrione going, man, I wouldn't fight. Just don't fight.
Who were you warming up with?
Rowan. Me and Rowan were warming up. My jiu-jitsu coach, and he stepped back on my knee. And pop.
Because I heard about that. I think I actually heard about it before you even fought.
Even Leo was actually, I was at the curtains. And Leo's my cornerman's going, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this. No, you don't have to do this. And I was like, yeah, I do.
Yeah. Oh, I made money off you too. I forgot. I had wanted to mention that. Alex, we'll bring up Alex Caparici because the bets came out online, and he said Mencey's fighting in Australia. I don't remember the guy's name that you fought.
Vic Kruchek.
Vic Kruchek.
He was
on
a
the
Tough
Ultimate
Nation.
Fighter show.
Ultimate
He was on
Fighter Canada.
Okay, yes, he was on the Ultimate Fighter show Canada. And
Tough Nations.
Yeah. And the same one that Chadley Priest got the call and Elias Theodoro. And the odds came out for that, and it was all stacked against you. And I was like, there's no way this guy's going to beat Chris Clements. There's no way. And I remember betting $500 on it, and I won $1,500. So thank you for that. Because I remember I did the post on it because I was like, I wish I had more money. I was like, no, I'll put $20,000, $30,000. If I had $50,000 exposable cash, I would have 100% bet it on you. Because I just knew it was like a gimme fight. I was like,
I remember, I think I just went on like Twitter or something, and I seen UFC just going to Australia, and I just right Joe Silva. I just emailed him right away.
I'm in.
Can I fight on this card? Can I fight this guy? He's like, he's cut. Can I fight this guy? Yeah. Boom.
Just
I'm
like
going
that.
to Australia. It was just
That's
like
cool.
that. Basically just like that.
How was it fighting UFC over there?
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Because like, obviously the free travel's great.
Did you go to Japan? You ever go to Japan?
No, that is actually the only fight thing on my bucket list that I never accomplished.
Going to Japan.
I wanted to fight one time in Japan. And that was one of the only
How old are you
things that
now?
are on my bucket list. 36,
you got
43.
time.
43 now.
Whoa, that
One more
changed quick.
time.
Yeah. I thought you were when I got signed. I was like, 36. I'm still thinking about 36.
What about, you went to
43.
Afghanistan, right?
Yeah, we did a fight for the troops in Afghanistan.
Where's
I didn't
that-
fight. I cornered a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
That
must
was a
have
real
been cool.
experience. Really cool experience. That was for Rec MMA, I think.
Yeah. I was talking to Grossi about that.
Yeah, he went the year before me. I went the year after him.
Oh, so you guys went twice?
Yeah, we went twice. He
Oh,
did 2 events.
how was it over there when you went?
It was amazing. It was like,
Who fought on the card? Do you remember?
there was nobody that anybody's ever heard of probably that fought on that card.
You had 5 guys on the
Theo
card.
I think Theo Tony.
Asa Stokes,
Yeah, like it was all like low.
Justin
level guys,
Smethurst,
basically.
who
I don't
else?
even know who the main event would have been then.
Brian Edge,
Yeah, Edge beat Theo
Logan,
Tony.
my buddy Chris Logan.
Oh yeah, Logan fought on. It was basically I heard that they were going back, and I just looked. I basically just threw anybody who was willing to fight to the wolves, just so I could go the coach.
Well, you had to go for free. Nobody got
Yeah.
paid, and it was just
Yeah.
get your way, and we'll bring you
I
to.
basically
So what was it
just
like when
said, I could
Afghanistan?
bring a team to the guy. I said I could bring a guy for every guy you need in the team, basically.
Just because you wanted to go
yeah,
to
just 'cause
Afghanistan.
I wanted the experience, right? Life's about experience.
So what was it like when you went to Afghanistan?
Oh, it was. I think we were there for.
Because you guys went like just after shit
That was like during like yeah, there was still stuff going on.
Yeah.
But on the way there, they fly us to Germany first, and we are supposed to switch to one of those like military planes that can come in and drop straight down, kind of.
Harriers.
But it wasn't available.
Yeah.
So we had took the prime minister's plane from Ottawa to Germany, and it's like a regular plane that has like the 4 seats in the middle and 3 on each side.
Mhm.
But there was only 50 of us on the plane, and the whole first class section's tore out, where they have an office for the prime minister and like futons off the side of the wall that pull out.
No way.
And it's a military flown, so I got to go sit in the cockpit of a plane and watch these pilots fly the plane. We had a band. Tom Green came with us. The comedian Tom Green was on the plane with us. Yeah, I tried asking him about Halle Harry. What the heck is his ex-wife's name?
Yeah.
Drew Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore. So what's going on with Drew Barrymore? How's that? And he's like, we're not talking about that.
Really?
Like, you see the comedian go to Stern really quick. He wouldn't bring that up or talk about it. I tried to ask him about it, but it wouldn't come up.
That's hilarious.
So then we had a band called they're called the Carpet Frogs or something. So they actually set up strobe lights, speakers, and had a full-out rock concert in the back of the airplane while we were flying overseas. And it was all I could drink. I wasn't fighting, so we had like military, like I was just chugging away and partying, listening to a rock band. And I'll never have a flight like that ever again in my life.
Yeah, no way.
It was an insane flight. But when we got to Germany, we couldn't get the other plane. We had to fly into Afghanistan. So you can't just fly in because they're going to shoot at you. So we had to turn all the lights off and go in complete darkness which is a pretty eerie feeling when you're flying at like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning into Afghanistan in the complete darkness with no real pilot giving you instructions.
Were you afraid?
Oh, yeah. I didn't know what was going on. All of a sudden, you're just like, you don't know what's going on.
You don't even know where you are. Do they give you a warning? Do they say, hey, you got to
They say we have to turn the lights off.
And you got to be quiet or anything?
Yeah. So we were just sitting there in silence. But you don't know you're even landing because there's no pilot guy going, yeah, by the way, we're going to land in this, like nothing. All of a sudden, you're just like, boom, you hit the floor on the ground, right? You're in complete darkness. And all of a sudden, you're just like, boom, and you hit the ground to land. And you're just like, holy shit. You don't know what it was. So that was a trippy moment. But then when we were there, you get chaperones. So they put, I think it was like 4 guys to each person. So some military person would be like our tour guide basically for the week. Mm-hmm. And every day they had something set up for us different. So we had like a day where we went and toured like through army tanks and went up and tried on all the gear. And we had
so they took care of you.
Yeah, we had a day when we were with the snipers and we got to hang out with the snipers a little bit and try all the sniper stuff and walk around. And we got to go into like a shooting range and do like a makeshift like fight scene.
Yeah.
The day they had helicopters fly the people out to meet the troops that were out in the mountains was the day of the fights. So that was we didn't get to go.
You got to miss that one.
The cool thing too is they took us to the Americans Air Force Base where they were flying off, and American fighter guys, they kill a lot of people. Like they're not quite right in the head, some of those guys. But they let us like get up in the F-1 jets or whatever they're called, the jets and the helicopters and stuff. Mm. And they put us at the end of the runway when one of them was taking off. So we got to sit at the end of the runway and have this jet right over top of our heads and take off and stuff. I tried to videotape it and I left my camera on photo. And I was like zooming in and all this stuff. And I went to hit boom and it goes
click. You got a picture?
I just wasted that. I was like a blur of nothing. Blur. So I wasted the whole experience trying to videotape the whole thing. So it was like a great experience, and I'm grateful I got to, be
Rumor has it you were quite the jokester that whole week.
Yeah,
I played a lot of jokes on people.
Yeah, I was playing practical jokes on a lot of guys. What was his name? He was
Nick Castiglia, the promoter. He would put like a blog every day, and then all of a sudden one day it's like, I like to pee sitting down, or it was something like really inappropriate at his blog, and he left. He was his roommate or something. He left it on him.
Just sneak in his room, did stuff to him. Yeah, I was always messing around with people there. It was pretty cool too. They have a boardwalk, and you don't realize that this base is like 30,000, 40,000 troops on it. Oh, but not just Canadian. There's not just Americans. There's like Austria, like all these different countries are all together in one separated spot on the base, but all together on the same base. And they had a boardwalk area, which is a great big square. It had a bunch of stores, like a TGIF Fridays store, and like an ice cream shop.
Americanized, North Americanized.
Yeah, so they had like a whole section. But there was one spot we stopped at a carpet store, and there's an Afghani person running it. And he asked us to take a picture, and he took a camera out and took a picture of us. And our guy like grabbed his gun, and just like took his camera away from him, was like freaking scared the shit out of him. I didn't know what was going on.
Really?
Because he didn't want him to have taken pictures of us, right?
What do you think? It was just
I have no clue what was going through.
So he took the guy's camera?
Yeah, he took his camera. Yeah, but it was like, whoa, what just happened? Like, cause we were just like innocent, not thinking anything.
Were you afraid the whole time? Because I know I'd be super.
No, there was actually one side the alarm. There's a bomb. They shoot. These guys will make bombs, and they'll shoot them at the base. So they'll use like washer and dryer timers instead of bomb and take off running until the timer goes off. Mm-hmm. There was one time an alarm went off because a bomb was like got shot at the base, and you're supposed to run into these tunnels and lay down. And I ran to the window. Actually,
you wanted to see?
I ran outside. I'm looking at the window, and there was like, "Get down!" I'm like, I want to see.
It's
hilarious. I was just like more
because Jesse Gross said that during the rules meeting, they told him that it was like a couple weeks prior to them fighting where they were located. There was 4 soldiers that were killed because they were bombing them. And in the rules meeting, there were like no elbows to the head because we don't want to avoid cuts, avoid the spinning back fist, and if the bomb siren goes off, if you're in the cage, to roll out of the cage and go underneath the cage. Like, how can you focus on a fight knowing that something like that can happen at any time? Just because it works.
And it was like there was only me. There was no cut man, or I had to tape the hands of every single fighter, and I didn't know this. I wasn't prepared for it. So once it started going, I was like, after a guy would fight, he had to come backstage and wrap the next guy's hands because I had to corner every fighter at the same time, right? So I had to kind of organize my team, and I was all by myself. Like, so it was a pretty hectic time to be there, but it was a great experience. Like I said, I would never change anything about it. It was except for the helicopter ride. I wish it could have been a different day.
So your career's been pretty good too. I mean,
I got to travel a lot. Like Australia was a great experience for me too. Like I remember the day before weigh-ins going surfing. My cornerman was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm not going to Australia and saying I didn't go surfing." He's like, "What if you get injured?" I'm like,
"You get eaten by a great
I'll
white
fight
shark."
anyway. I'll fight anyway. So I was like, so I got surfing lessons and tried surfing, which I sucked at. So I got to enjoy things. I was out every day. Went to the zoo one day so I could see a kangaroo. Went to different beaches, and
there was a big time difference there, wasn't there?
Yeah, I fought it. The thing that was cool was I fought at like 9:00 in the morning or something. Over
on
there.
Your regular time, which
I'm like, I fought
like 9:00 there on their time.
Yeah, I had to get up. Like usually when I fight in Canada, I would leave the venue at like, I'd have to do meet and greets at bars after. And I wouldn't get it till 1:30 in the morning because I'm not getting out of the venue after the press conference and stuff. Sometimes you wouldn't even get out till 1:00 in the morning. Here I had to get up at 6:30 in the morning and catch a bus at 7 to go to the venue and fight at 9:00 in the morning.
Wow.
And I remember getting done fighting, so I think my fight was probably around like 9:35. I got done. I walked out. I tried to order a beer because that's what I do after I fight. I go and get a slice of pizza and a beer. That's what I've always done. And they're looking at me going, "You can't get a beer yet." I'm like, "What do you mean I can't get it? It wasn't even 11:00 in the morning. I couldn't even get a beer."
That's hilarious.
But it was like amazing because I had the whole day after. I got to go and celebrate for an entire day and then go and party that night. And like Luke Rockhold had a big party that night afterwards at some really funky club in Sydney. Had like 5 different levels, a big rooftop patio, these fancy pools, and it was a phenomenal place. But this is like after a whole day of celebration, which normally you just go out and have a couple drinks here and there, get your pizza, and then it's bedtime. But I had an entire day. I would do that if I could change my career. I would have every fight in the morning.
So is it better? You think it's
it
better?
Was amazing. It was great.
Day?
It was a great time to fight. It's done and over with, and you get the whole day to enjoy yourself after.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you're more alive.
Yeah, as opposed to like waiting around. Sitting there waiting and waiting.
I always feel bad for guys because they got to sit in backstage and then you get a delay and then guys get antsy because they're like,
especially the UFC is a bit organized because they'll have 3 different buses for like the prelims, the early prelims, regular prelims, main card. So they have different buses picking up your hotel, so you're not stuck there the entire time. Whereas other times you one bus, so now you're at the main event, but you're stuck at the event for 3 hours. And you're in the backstage for 3 hours watching other guys come in and just got the crap beat out of them. It's not that great for your mental state, right? You're some guy watching with his nose on the side of his face and crying. You're going, and I got to go through that later. And you sit there and watch, or your teammates get, maybe a lose first. So it was nice to just get in and get out so early in the morning.
The life of a fighter. So what are you doing these days?
I still train people at Adrenaline. It's kind of like it used to be my full-time job. I was always a part-time fighter, a full-time trainer. Like, so I honestly believe in my heart I'm one of the best trainers in the world. I do think I can teach people how to punch and kick almost better than anybody else on the planet. Faster and, with a better technique and use their hope, make them athletes. How they're doing it. I'm not saying I'm the best coach in the world. Just coaching and training are different things. And I think that's one thing that's missing from MMA. Is that most fighters have a coach. There's trainers and there's coaches in most sports. Like there's the guy who's running the coaching on the side of the football field is not the same guy who's training these guys to run faster, to jump higher. MMA doesn't usually have that. Most guys have a coach. I'm a trainer. I don't think I'm a coach. I'm not that kind of guy that can. Tompkins was a coach. Sean Tompkins was that guy. He could get to know people really quick, and he knew what to say to people when they needed to be said to them. Right? He knew how to get in any different. He could go from one fighter to the next fighter, the next fighter, the next fighter, and he knew how to talk to them. That's what made him the coach. Right? I'm not that guy. I don't like getting like Jesse Gross. Me and him were great friends. I was his trainer, and that guy getting ready for a fight. I'd be like, did I do something wrong? Do you hate me? Did I? Because he just turns into this biggest asshole backstage, and he just
he actually
like so every fighter does something different, and I'm not that kind of guy that can just jump in and know what they need at that time, right? Or when the fight's going on, you kind of have to know what that guy's good at, right? And you have to be able to adapt to each fighter. So I think coaches have a role, but trainers have a different role, right? I think the MMA is missing that, where there's a trainer and a coach, right? So you need someone to train you for your kickboxing, train you. They have fitness coaches, a lot of them, but they don't. Their coach is usually the same guy who's training them in the gym, right?
So you're taking clients?
I take clients, yes.
So how does someone get a hold of you?
Most people message me on Facebook or Instagram usually, actually, or they come to the gym and ask for me. Right now, mainly 90% of my clients are females.
Oh, wow.
And I kind of prefer that right now as a family man and my kids at home, that they're not looking to fight. They just want to learn how to punch and kick and get in shape. So I'm their trainer. I can teach them. I can make girls look like they've been training for years in a couple of months. I can. It's all about body mechanics and teach people to move properly and use their body properly, right?
Where do they find you, on Facebook or Instagram?
Just by my name, Menace Clements or Chris Clements on Facebook. It's pretty simple to find me. Or come to Adrenaline, call Adrenaline.
Show up and just say, well,
go on the website of Adrenaline MMA. And that's what I've had a couple of girls just walk in and just ask for me an Adrenaline. And that kind of throws me off. But I think 3 of my clients right now are just girls that just show up at the gym and ask for me because they see that I train women mostly. And I do that too because, like I said, as a family guy, they're not looking to fight. So when I have a fighter fighting, he's getting paid $500 and he has to fly to Vancouver. Now my whole weekend's gone with my kids. I'm not getting paid by the guy because he's not even getting paid, right? So now I'm losing a whole weekend. I'm losing my wife's, taking time off work. So it's not really my thing right now to train fighters to be their coach, right? I'll be the trainer. I'll teach you how to punch and kick harder and faster, and keep you more balanced. So I think that's the big thing too. Is most people, MMA is still new, and most people teach what they were taught, right? I don't teach what I was taught because who's to say who taught me is right? Right? I teach what I do, right? And most people don't do that. Most people teach what they were taught. And like I said, who's to say who taught you is right? And it's the same as anything. My radio the same today is not the same as my radio was in 1984, right? So things have adapted for any sport the same as any technology. So I think that's just starting to come into MMA, where people, like I said, the John Joneses and these guys doing crazy, weird stuff, right? Using more athleticism, using more movement. And most people are still stuck teaching what they were taught from some guy who learned in 1983 or 84, right? So it's a whole different mentality of things. Even Muay Thai. Muay Thai is different today than it was 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
When you watch it, right?
So
they're starting to adapt.
It's evolving.
Yeah.
They develop the hands a bit more.
Yeah, they've started a little bit more footwork, a little bit more defense,
being a little bit more
movement.
elusive, not getting hit, not taking the punishment, standing in the pocket and trading.
Yeah.
It's not about taking the beating.
And I always say, I can't train someone to be a fighter. You can fight or you can't fight. Like Jesse Gross is a great example of it. That kid, I had him fight in a month. He's walking the gym. You want to fight? Go ahead. You can fight. You can fight, right? I was the same way. I could fight. I can teach you every fighting technique in the world, but I can't teach you how to use it. You got to be a fighter in your mind. You got to be able to turn it on, right? You got to be able to use it. And that's what you said about being a martial artist. You got to be able to paint your own picture. You're an artist, right? So you got to find a way to use it. Make it your own. I can teach you a move, but unless it's your move and you learn how to use it, it's useless to you, right?
Yeah, that's what I love about you. Traditional martial artist, the man, Chris Clements. I'm gonna bring this to an end, and I want to thank you for coming in.
Anytime.
And this was like.
By the way, I talked. You probably need to bring me on more so I can finish up. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Have another drink. We'll probably continue this after the podcast. But thank you, man. I truly appreciate you coming out. And again, you'll catch Mency at the show September 28th, Prospect Fighting Championships.
I'll be there.
Knockout kidney disease. We'll see you then.
All right.
Looking for a babysitter still.
Yeah, just looking for a babysitter.
Yeah, babysitter anyone.